This episode of Top to Bottom is sponsored by Noted Analytics. Are you tired of losing sales opportunities to the status quo? Not seeing meaningful information in CRM to help close deals? Empower your team with Noted Analytics, the first guided selling for CRM platform that uses sales methodologies like gap selling, Medic, and others to revolutionize the way revenue teams capture, evaluate, and measure sales process effectiveness. Start increasing win rates, shortening sales cycles, and growing average sales prices today. Check it out at notedanalytics.com.
Welcome to Sales Top to Bottom. I'm your host, Keenan Becc. I'm joined the lovely host, Becc. Becc, I'm going to throw you a bone. What did you do tonight? And don't take 10 minutes telling us all. Just tell us what you did.
I went to an Oscar de la Renta exclusive party with the CEO of Oscar de la Renta and his entire family during Paris Fashion Week. And I got to wear my first time Oscar de la Renta dress and have him make comments about it. It was the best moment of my life. No big deal.
Congratulations.
I mean,
Congratulations.
With his entire
Which
family.
Which one did you get?
I got.
Which one did you get?
I sent Keenan options before. I said there's 2 401s and there's 2 like gowns. So someone showed up and took the black gown within the first 2 minutes. Apparently, I was late in traffic. The dress that I wore was their pink gown. So anyone who can look it up on Oscar de la Renta, and it's got feathers on its way out, and it's tight in the core. But I bought the white floral one, and they said, "So you're buying 2?" And I said, "Keenan loves this one, so I got to buy the white floral one."
No,
so
oh my God! See, I just said what is the most practical. Oh, never mind.
I bought both.
All right, so on with the show.
And with that,
there's something very interesting. You will like this. The reason they were
doing
the party.
Wait, you guys notice how conveniently it was her prop was. She laid down in there, and then she comes.
There's the bag, there's the dress, there's the pink dress. But there's a wall that was in the building, the main Oscar de la Renta building. So they knocked it down, and behind it was a painting that was Louvre worthy. So they had all these painters come in. Yeah. So this is a book, and the author was there from the book of Louvre Haute Couture. And they were there tonight. So I got to see that painting in the background. No big deal. What everyone else do tonight. Oscar de la Renta. He's iconic. Hanging out with his fam.
All right. Let's go with the show. See what happens. I said, don't take too long. And here we are. You give Becc an inch and she takes a mile.
Give him house and cookie.
Right, here we go. Let's go. We can start the show.
Give him mouse and cookie.
Oh yeah, you're in. Okay, well with that, we are on to the first segment of this podcast, which is
Email Teardown.
This is the segment where Keenan and Becc tear down emails and messages that were sent over to them. Now on to the first email. This one, the subject is Becc/follow-up discussion. This person says, "Dear Becc, I wanted to follow up on our previous emails and see if now is a good time to reconnect. I represent blank, specializing in remote resource engagements for a wide range of technology services, SAP, mobility, web app, AI, ML, blockchain, and more. What sets us apart is our competitive pricing with the option to hire a senior developer at just USD $2,500 per month or $18 per hour. Is there a particular project or challenge you're currently facing where blank's expertise could be of assistance? Best regards, sender." Becc, what are your thoughts on this email?
Well, in the words of Heidi Klum, a fashion icon, in fashion, you're either in or you're out. And this email is out.
Oh my God.
Email is out.
Was she there today?
She was not.
And I didn't miss anything.
I don't know if she wasn't, she probably wasn't invited. So, sorry, Heidi, if you're watching this. follow-up is going to trigger spam filter. We can start there. And after that short email, even though it was pretty short, I still have no idea what they do. So following up on what she's like, it's now a better time. And I'm like, I don't know. Is it? You tell me. Is now when I'm going to have more of a problem? So that's my general feedback, is the email is definitely out. Keenan?
The problem with this email, she has no idea who you are. You got on some list somehow, and she sent it out to 1 million people because she literally said SAP. Anybody not listening, do you understand what SAP is? SAP is an enterprise-wide resource planning software implementation across multiple functional groups that takes years to manage and to put in, and a lot of time they fail anyway. SAP is one of the greatest scams in the world. Everybody put it in, it never worked for anybody, but they keep spending money on it. But I digress. So the mere fact that she sent this to Becc and talked about AI, enterprise resource planning, and something else blows my mind. This is the least targeted email you could ever send to anybody ever. Know who the hell you're sending it to.
Are you saying I'm too small?
Shit.
On to the next email.
Nothing can take me down tonight, Keenan. Nothing can take me down tonight.
Well, this email was sent to Keenan, and the subject was, quick question. Hey, Keenan, I'm impressed with what you've built at Author. I stumbled upon your profile on LinkedIn and noticed the URL for sales growth, for a sales growth company, could use better search engine ranking and organic traffic.
I'm impressed on what you did at Author.
Yes.
Okay, keep going.
At Seco Content, we've helped hundreds of businesses boost their search engine ranking and direct organic traffic to their website, leading to more sales. For instance, we've helped URL of some company generate 40% more organic traffic within 6 months, which led to a 7x revenue jump. Reply yes to know how we can achieve the above results for you. PS, for a free SEO audit, just reply free audit. Best regards, Mayank Wadhwa, CEO of Seco Content. Keenan, what are your thoughts on this email?
He lost me. The reason I sent it to you is he lost me at Author. So he's clearly
impressed by your work, though.
What?
He's impressed by your work at Author, whatever that is.
He's impressed. Exactly, my work at Author. He clearly scraped this off my LinkedIn or something, did absolutely no research whatsoever, and then thought it was okay to send me an email. I mean, I literally sent it to them and I said Author. I got confused for a second. I'm like, all right, let me just send this to Min. Don't do this, people. Stop spraying. Stop.
Becc, what about you? What are your thoughts on this email?
Well, I think I already gave enough spicy takes so far this evening. However, I will say, if I was a client of theirs, because clearly they're not curating the list. If I was already a client of theirs and I got this prospecting email, which will happen, I would lose faith in them even if I was a current client and they were solving my problems. That's how bad the email is.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I would want to renege my purchase, of them just based on that email. I'm like, that's terrible. That's just so bad.
Well, okay. We are on to the next segment of this podcast, which is
Sales Mythology.
This is the segment where Becc and Keenan demystify common myths within the sales industry. And the first myth of today is sales can be fully replaced by AI and automation. Keenan, why don't you start us off on this one?
Will it someday? Yeah, maybe. I don't dare be the guy that said humans are never meant to fly, and this idea that we could ever fly is stupid, or the fact that we'll never break the sound barrier, or the fact that it's witchery if you can actually use electricity to light up a house. So I'm not going to be that guy. I mean, anything's possible. Is it going to do it in our lifetime? Absolutely not. And anybody who suggests it will doesn't understand sales. Could AI replace Order taking, absolutely. Absolutely, and it could do it in our lifetime. So what do I mean by order taking? Any type of sale that is a low cost, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say low cost. It's probably high too, but I'm giving you guys all the benefit of fucking doubt, you crazy people who think this shit. I'm going to get 5,000 or less. I think that's still too high, but I'm going to roll with that. I think maybe in our lifetime for transactional sale that's $5,000 or less, that is super, super clear. Yup, I think AI could do it. But most of us don't make our living in the $5,000 or less category. Most of us make our living in the $25,000, $30,000, $50,000, $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 category. And there's absolutely no way AI is smart enough and agile enough to do a proper discovery to uncover why someone should buy, overcome the objections when the buyer's like, I don't know about this, or respond to the buyer when the buyer's like, well, I think we might hold on, or, I think we want this feature, you don't have it, or your competition has this, what do we do? Are you like who the fuck says this shit? You're not paying attention. You know how complicated a sales process is when you have competition and multiple buyers, and the thing costs 50, 60, 80, 100,000, $500,000, and it's a critical element to their business. And no, AI is not going to be that smart when AI is that smart, expect to see robots in the street being policed, because it's about the same concept.
Becc, what about you? What do you think about this myth?
Well, to Keenan's point, I'm glad he covered it. Most sellers, I would argue, are order takers at this point. And I think, in my opinion, this is out of respect, they're pretty piss poor order takers, because they take a lot of time to do it. They don't get back, and they're not as correct as a computer would be, right? So could AI take on sales as it is? I'm going to venture and say not just under 5,000. I would argue up to 50,000 would really be the brink where I'd say like how it currently is, because I see the sellers, non-enterprise sellers, non-strategic sellers, like I just see them order taking. So I've asked a couple of organizations recently, and I'm like, I'll give you the litmus test. If for less than 60% of your deals, what the buyer believed at the beginning and what you believe wasn't different, you're an order taker. You're a really slow order taker, because that's what you're trying to influence, is finding a misdiagnosis and a misdiagnosis. So I would argue that AI definitely could as it is today. Sales as it's meant to be? Absolutely not, to Keenan's point. And I will say one last thing. Most people today are talking about the power of AI and what it could do, and, hypothetically, but no one's talking about what it's doing for them right now, because I think that it takes an application of like, how do we apply this tool to really get the result? And when I go to ChatGPT and I'm like, hey, what are the KPIs of a SDR, for instance? And it will say closed won. I'm like, it's not correct. So I never see people talking about what it's currently doing for them today and that it's causing all these great results, just hypothetically in dreamland, what it could do. And they're impressed with that.
Yeah. Look, I love the potential of AI. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I just never got on the boat. And look, sometimes I'm ahead of the boat. I can give you a couple of examples where I got way ahead of the curve, and it's been super helpful for me in a career. And I don't even think I always consciously knew it, just sensed it. Other times I went and I thought I was ahead of the curve and I was wrong. It just never took off. And there are other times I'm behind the curve. I'm a laggard. And I'm like, I don't see this working. And I would say the majority of those times, not all, when I'm a laggard, I was right. I was like, no, this isn't ready. Right. So AI to me is the ability to think and see things that humans can't see, and or see them way, way, way earlier with less work than humans can do. And that's good for existing stuff. So I'm a big fan of AI for going through large pieces of data that already exist and say, oh, hey, this equals this. And even still, we're trying to do that inside of Noted Analytics right now. And the amount of information that my developers are asking me to give them, I'm like, well, if I got to give you this information, then what the fuck is AI doing?
Yeah.
Like literally, what is AI doing? If I've got to go tell you everything to look for, okay, so they're going to go look for it. But you know how much work it's taking me to go tell you what to look for, and I have to anticipate what the next move is and anticipate. Well, what the fuck is AI doing? So no, we everybody got suckered into this one.
To anyone listening, I want you, if you do believe that AI could take over, I want you to go, stop what you're doing right now, hit a Google tab, and Google Will Smith AI date, because he goes on a date with an AI robot, and it is just awkward.
Oh,
it is hysterical. Because he was like, I'm really feeling the chemistry. She was like, speaking of chemistry, and she actually, it kind of reminds me of me on a first date. Speaking of chemistry, and like starts giving all these facts. But just go Google that and watch that, and that's why AI isn't going to take over what salespeople can do.
Okay, well, the next. Oh, go. Oh,
no, go. We'll move on.
Perfect.
We'll get it out.
The next sales myth of today is buyers do not like salespeople. Becc, why don't you start us off on this one?
No, start with Keenan.
Okay.
No, go.
Damn.
Oh shit! Someone just said, was the AI robot bald? Wow.
Wait, what is? Yes.
The AI robot was bald.
That's correct. The AI robot was bald.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, why was that a dig?
Because his wife is bald, and that's why he got Chris Rock got slapped. Yes, Greg Christensen is on the ball. That was good, Greg.
I don't think whoever meant that, but the AI robot actually is bald in the date.
Too soon? I don't know.
Too soon.
I do. Mad respect for Will. He's like, keep my wife's name out of your mouth. I'm like, well, good job. Anywho, towards his career, I digress.
I don't think it was good at all. I don't think it was good at all. Everybody gets roasted.
If
everybody gets roasted at those things.
Okay, if we're going to talk about a side note tonight, it's going to be Oscar de la Renta. Let me be very clear.
Go on. Tell the rest of the story.
So, the myth is that sellers don't, or buyers don't like sellers. I, largely speaking, don't think that's a myth. Meaning, I think most buyers hate sellers' guts. However, good sellers who can uncover something that they didn't know and help solve a problem, it's a complete opposite. I love those people. I want them around. I want to have them around at every single step of the way. But by and large, I think that the buying community hates the selling community because of their experience to date. But what they could be, just the opposite, 180.
Keenan, what about you? What are your thoughts on this one?
Everything Becc said, I agree 100%. They hate the idea of a salesperson. They hate their interaction with people with the label of salesperson, but they're not selling. That's the crazy part. They're not selling. They're taking orders, or they're pitching, or they're manipulating, etc. They're not selling. When someone is properly selling, they're actually properly helping. And when they're doing the job as they should, people love salespeople. That's why they ask for them. Can I talk to a salesperson? Can I talk to a salesperson? Can you get someone to help me?
Yeah.
When they believe they're in a position of help, we love salespeople. The problem is salespeople in the sales world has yet to recognize that is their job. And they're still trying to push, manipulate, cajole, and they think that's their job, and that's not their job, and that's what pisses people off.
Mm-hmm. It's like when people don't think they need something, they're like, I'm just looking. But when I know that I need something or I need help with something, I'm like, where's the seller? Like, yeah. I'm pissed.
Yeah.
Oh, you're starting off early.
There it is.
Oh, I need to figure out how to surprise y'all more.
I told them about the podcast. They were really impressed about that. They're like, you pushed the podcast. I was like, I did.
No, my partner was gracious enough.
It's exactly what I said. And then I said, that's why I bought the white dress.
That's why you bought the just keep going, man. Take control of this. It's going off.
You know the math. You know the math, Keenan.
It's going off the rails, man.
All right. Well, we're on to the next segment of this podcast, which is
Take It or Leave It.
This is the segment where I introduce common sales tactics, and Keenan and Becc let us know whether they would take it or leave it. And the first one of today is selling to and based on a buyer's emotional state. Becc, why don't you start us off on this one?
Leave it. I'm a leave it on the buyer's emotional state, because I think if you're just selling based on and towards that, you're usually ignoring the relevance portion. And so if you're focused on that, I'm a hard leave it. That's what most methodologies or technique gurus are about, is pain. I'm going to get them to feel pain so that they get emotional about it and they make an emotional purchase. But it's not with them in mind usually. So I'm going to be a leave it.
What about you, Keenan? Take it or leave it?
I'm leaving it as well. The main reason I'm leaving it is, one, it's not transferable. So if there are multiple buyers, I can't say, oh, well, Becc is really upset about this, so if we're going to make Becc feel better, you guys need to buy that. That's not transferable, right? And secondly, I do like it to understand as a validator on the consistency with how I perceive the problem versus how they perceive the problem. Mm-hmm. So I do like getting to the emotional state as a validator. So I think I've told the story before. I was working with a client. They had found, I think, like a $300 million hole. This company was, and it was tangible. This company was leaking $300 million a year in their maintenance practices due unplanned downtime and stuff like that. And my company that I was working with fixed that, but they weren't buying. And I remember as they were telling the story about why they wouldn't buy, I remember there was this sense. I had this sense there was no sense of urgency. I'm like, I don't understand. Aren't they freaked out? Like, I was trying to get to the emotion. They just seemed very emotionless about this. So then I asked the question, how big is this company? And I think they were like 45 billion or something like that. And I was like, oh, okay. So that emotion, the lack of emotion, was a hint to me that it wasn't a big deal, even though it seemed like a big deal to us. And I can inverse it. It seemed like a small deal to me, and they're freaking out. Like, why are you so upset? What's the big deal? Mm-hmm. If we lose that customer, I get right. So yes, don't sell to it, but know it.
Okay, the next one for today is selling to a B2B buyer's personal motivations. Keenan, take it or leave it.
Same concept, particularly on the piece of it's not transferable, right? Like, nobody in the rest of the company is going to give a shit what your personal motivations are. Mm-hmm. And so for me to spend a lot of time, oh, you're going to get a promotion if you get this? Good for you. Oh, you're going to get a raise. Oh, you're going to get a bonus. Oh, you're going to get a transfer. I don't give a shit what it is. Trying to sell you on that is not transferable. And sometimes it could be not incongruent, but incompatible, for lack of a better word, with the goals of the organization. Now, if I know all of this, and I know they should buy, and I've done a proper discovery, and I know everything that's going on in the business and all of that stuff, and that fits like a charm, I will use that to get them to help push it across the line. I'll use them as a dog or as a player in closing it, and use that last piece as motivation, but I'm not selling to it. Hell no, I'm not selling to it. That's a leave it 100%.
All right, what about you, Becc? Take it or leave it.
By personal, I didn't define this one. By personal, did you mean like their personal emotional stuff or their specific KPIs as a buyer persona?
No, their personal stuff. So like if they're going to get a promotion, they would look good in the company if they bring this up versus actual goals of the company.
God, I'm a TVIT. Here's why. I haven't TV'd it in a while. So the impact is just simply defined as the extended pain that is the motivator to change, whatever that may be. So in the case of it's the personal motivation that's driving the change, I think it's interesting to know because people are solving a business problem to avoid an impact. And so if I don't believe solving that business problem will avoid that impact, I think it's important to know. But if it's emotional la la land just to drive them, to Keenan's point, to feel like they should, I'm like, it's dark. It's like past dark, in my opinion, to do that. So I'm a dead on TVIT.
Wow, consistently 5 seconds ahead, Becc. You're an expert.
Absolutely. Becc 2.0 is calm, cool, collected.
Has her stuff together.
Oscar de la Renta.
Oscar de la Renta. I met his family.
Yeah, I don't know. And I heard the police are looking for you now.
He said I was a vision in the dress, a vision. Okay. Keep going.
Okay.
As you handed him your credit card. That is fucking great.
He thought I had already bought it. That makes no sense.
Well, either way, we are on to the next segment of this podcast, which is
the inbox.
This is my personal favorite segment.
You like this one, man?
Oh, yeah. Where Keenan and Becc answer questions from our audience. And to help with that, we have our trusty.
I thought by now Min would have gotten better pictures on there. Now we've been doing this a year.
So.
I thought
there's a reason for it, and it's actually a surprise. But
all right, surprise! I like surprises.
100%. Let's see who asked us a question today. This one is from Jessica S. from Zoom Info. She asks, if you are an account manager and taking on a current client, would you run a survey amongst their current subscription users to understand what they like and dislike about the product before you have a discovery with the decision maker / CEO? Keenan, why don't you start us off on this one?
Okay, I want to make sure I understand this question because this is intriguing to me. So I'm Zoom Info, and I have a customer A, right? Acme company. Is she asking, do I go out and talk to Acme customers? Mm-hmm. Acme's customers?
They're
out. Okay.
No, I think they're reps. Do I go and talk to Acme, like the decision maker? Their reps and their tactical users is how I heard it.
The specific wording was, would you run a survey amongst their current subscription users?
Oh, the people using your product or service. Yeah. So basically the reps, because that's who's using it. Absolutely. But before I did that, I would actually go out onto LinkedIn. So absolutely, whatever your name is, brilliant. I'd go out onto LinkedIn and I would find a handful of them. So I wouldn't do a survey. I would start with seeing if I could find 5, 6, or 7 of them, and I'd interview them. Mm-hmm. And I'd interview them like, okay, what do you think of this? How often do you use it? I get really, really creative in the questions I'd ask. I'd be very deliberate in what I want to learn, right? And then I'd ask questions about usage. I'd ask questions around process. I'd questions around frequency. I'd ask questions around outcomes. I would look to see correlations between outcomes. Oh yeah, hell yeah! But I wouldn't do a survey. I would hunt them down on LinkedIn and I would ask them if they'd give me the time and I'd interview them. That's a great idea.
All right, Becc, what about you? What do you think about this?
So 3 things rapid fire. The first is careful. Don't circumvent. Don't go to their team without their consent because it will eradicate your relationship. Second of all,
completely disagree, but keep going.
It's a study. It's not me. It's not an opinion. It's a study. And send it to you. It's like, whatever, Becc. Shut up, Becc.
There is no study from an account management perspective.
No. Of how you can blow trust with anyone. And that's
but it's not trust. She's not trying to sell them anything. I'm interrupting. I apologize.
She's an account manager. So she's trying to upsell to the person. So
part of upselling. Okay, go.
Is keeping trust with the first person, I would argue. But anywho, second piece is the question that she suggested is, are they happy or not? Which is a self-diagnosis question. And I think they'll say yeah or no, or how happy could I be? So to Keenan's point, I'd be asking very specific questions. And the third piece that I'd be careful of, I do think it's valuable data, but once you're taking it back to the decision maker, you need to map how their problem causes a business problem for the decision maker, right? So it doesn't matter to me if the reps it's a pain in the butt to use something, the low login or blah, blah, or it takes a long time to log in. That does matter to me if because it's taking a long time to log in, they aren't logging in and they aren't getting data and they aren't putting people into sequences, which not only affects their quota attainment or meeting quota attainment, but the decision makers meeting quota attainment. So I'd be careful to map it all back to a business problem for the specific user and then the greater business problem for the decision maker.
I completely agree. That's very good advice, Becc. Completely disagree with not going to them without asking that person's permission.
It's not me.
Completely disagree.
I'll put the study in the chat. You're better off statistically, way better off lying to someone's face than circumventing them.
But that's not a circumvention. That's not a circumvention.
If I haven't met you and I went to Min first, because she said she inherited the account. Yeah. She's passed the account. So if I went to your team before I went to you, it's
no. And if you came back with really good information, it's sort of like I went out and he's going to get me. It's sort of like I went out to your site and downloaded all the stuff that I didn't even need to see how your process works. No, I completely disagree. Go for it. Go for it.
Thank you.
Ask for me.
Continue on.
It's kind of being like, it's kind of like being like E doesn't equal MC squared. I'm like,
no, sir. No, surveys do not work that way. That was good. That was good. No.
I'm like, I'm going to say next section.
All right.
Oh my goodness gracious. All right.
And with that, we are 100%. Okay, we are on to the next segment of this podcast, which is
the challenge.
This is the segment where Keenan and Becc break down a challenging subject within the sales industry. And today's subject is how to get a prospect open to letting you help them. Becc, why don't you start us off on this one?
Oh, you're going the wrong order, man. You're going the wrong order. Okay.
So wait a minute. I got an echo. Does anybody else have an echo?
I don't. Is there an echo for me?
Min, talk.
Hello.
All right, maybe it's gone away.
Okay. Is it me?
It was Min at first. He was double talking. Then you were double talking. Now I can hear myself faintly. So I can get through it.
Well, you're in Denver, but you've got a vibrato, so I might still be able to hear you. Hear you. Okay. Getting the buyer to let you help them. I think the main driver behind the challenge for that is people don't want you to help them. It's embarrassing to some degree. But what can really help, the main driver behind me not opening up to someone to be able to let them help me is because I don't believe they can help me. Right? So it's, asking questions and discovery and all of that it's not digital, meaning it's not like you have to ask good question after good question after good question after good question. Like, I'm going to give you a test. You ask one question, it's a bad one, I'm going to recoil. If you do another bad one, I'm going to recoil. And then if you do, 3 leading questions in a row, I'm like, they just want to sell me, and I shut down because I'm like, their agenda's wrong. But getting the buyer to be open to it is they need to be able to trust that if they give you this information, even though it's risky in their mind, from a time perspective and from a threat perspective, that it's worth it because you're going to do something with it. So I think the main driver, the main place that I see reps missing is they're asking leading questions. What would you say, Keenan, if I could tell you that I could book 50 outbound qualified meetings for you every single second? What would that mean to your business? It's a leading question.
Yeah, 100%.
Or a self-diagnosis question of like, what would the impact to you be of if I could set 50 meetings per minute? Those are going to be the 2 ones that cripple you the most. Mm-hmm. The more and more that you ask questions that help them realize that they have a problem that they didn't realize that they had beforehand, and help you uncover a root cause and a problem that they didn't know that they have beforehand, the more and more and more they're going to be simply be open to letting you help them because they believe that you're a credible source that can help them. I'm going to stop there and pass to Keenan.
No, that's what you said is pretty much what it's about. In order to get a buyer to let you help them, first and foremost, you have to have a level of insight about their business and how you solve the problems their business has. If you don't understand their business and the intricacies and how it all comes together, then how are you going to get them to believe you can help? So I learned this most when I'm asked to come in and help with the problem identification chart or the pick. And I start asking questions and they have no idea. They literally have no idea what problems they solve. And some of the lucky ones, they have it, but they're not aware of it. So I'm going to use one example. I'm not going to say who it is, but it's a major Fortune 50 company. I worked with them for a while. They're in healthcare, so there's only a handful of them. So, and they sell imaging equipment. So there's only a handful, so you can guess which one. But think Philips or Canon or some Chinese versions or GE. Like there's only so many. So when you go into the doctor and you get an MRI or a CAT scan or what do you call that? With women get it, ultrasound or whatever. There's only a handful of companies that do that. And they had no idea what problem they solved. They could have told you all day long about how their product could make scanning go faster or the image quality better. Like literally, they would go on and on about image quality and scan times. And I learned this in the process. I learned this in the process that sometimes because these technicians are on it all day, they're not ergonomically correct. And so they get issues. And so therefore these people have to take time off because they hurt their wrists or their arms because of doing this shit all day long. And it was a heavy machine, blah, 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 blah. So they never thought that the problem they solve was long wait times. And they're like, what do you mean long wait times? I'm like, well, if it takes a long time to scan something, therefore you can only get so many people in a day. I'm like, oh, good point. I said, if you only get so many people in a day, how long does someone need to scan? Are they scheduled out? And they're like, wow, I never thought about it like that. So here they are talking about all of these features, but they never dawned on them. It's one of the biggest problems they solved for hospitals, particularly in the region we were doing this because it wasn't the States. Some of their customers had wait times of 2, 3, 4 weeks. And I was like, so what do you think the impact is to a hospital or clinic if you can reduce that wait time? I said, what happens in a long wait time? They said, well, they wait and then they usually go somewhere else. All right, so they get X amount of referrals and only a certain amount of those actually end up in scans. I never thought about that. So my point in this long story is I'm talking to a Fortune 50. And my sorry dumbass was the only one who ever got them to realize that it's not about the image quality. It's not about the scan time. It's about the impact of those things, and they had no idea. So, yeah, I didn't get track of the point of this whole damn thing in that, to get someone to help them, you've got to get them to believe that you have insight and information that they're unaware of that you can bring to the table that's going to broaden their understanding of their business and what problems they may or may not have.
And to Keenan's point, the way to get them to believe that is not to tell them that you have that information. It's to diagnose and to show that information. Stop telling me that you have this awesome report that's going to like blow my mind and help me solve, you know what I'm saying? What?
Stop telling me about this awesome report. Yes. You get it down.
I don't get it. It's 10:30.
Min gets it.
Either way.
Okay. So I'm like, stop telling me about this thing that you're going to send over, this website diagnostic that you're going to send over, yada, yada, yada. Just prove it through like the actual, I'm so distracted. Just prove it through the actual knowledge that you have. Stop telling me that you're credible. Just be credible. Stop telling me at the beginning of your speech or your presentation, 3 slides about who you are and your background, all the awards you received and all the teams you scaled. Just dig in and I'll decide that. Is he texting Min right now? Just make sure you don't do it in the group chat.
I'm not texting Min. I'm answering a question on our lovely followers. I was just asked if we do this every week. Yes, we do it we try to do it every week. We've missed a couple. We try to do it every Wednesday at noon Mountain Standard Time. So those of you want to follow us. But anyways, keep going.
That's it. Say 2. What's it?
Yeah.
Next challenge. Do we not have a next challenge?
Let's wrap this challenge up so we give the next one its due time. I think because the challenge is to help people get good at it, right?
Yeah.
So I think one of the things organizations need to do is organizations need to enablement. Pay attention to me, please. Enablement for one of all the groups hates my swearing. So just look past it. You'll get over it. Enablement. Listen to me. The top enabler in the entire sales world, build a process and methodology and approach that allows you and your team to go out and learn what's important to buyers, learn how the buyers work, learn the processes that they use inside the organizations you sell to, do as much assessment and assessment in discovery of how your buyers work and what's important to them, and bring it back to your sales team and build a sales training around that. Not how your product fixes it. You can do that another time. Just around that.
Your buyer.
Yes, just around the buyer, and educate them on the buyer. Not in terms of what the buyer buys from you. Stop that. in the realm and teach them. That's how you're going to make this better for salespeople.
Today, I told a team, they said, hey, do you have ongoing like education? What's a list of resources, that you would recommend? So I said, well, here's a number of sessions you can watch my site. Here's a number of psychology resources. Here's books. Here's da-da-da. But here's the thing. You should watch one of these a week. But before that, just Google a webinar or a piece of content about your buyer. Just do that. Read that first and then watch this sales thing. Read an article about them, watch a webinar about them, and then do this sales thing. Because the most important thing is to know how your buyer talks. That's it. That's all I got.
Keenan, you like to close this out?
I'd like to close this out by bringing Becc into speed to the inside joke.
Okay, thank God.
So let's do this together, shall we? Becc kept saying, don't listen to a report. Don't send me some report. Don't tell me what some report says. You can get me. Right? Don't send me some report. Don't tell me what some report says. Man, why was that so funny to us?
I don't know.
Should I? I don't want to start a war out here.
The big reveal, man.
We're talking about your report that you talk about constantly, correct?
We're talking about the segment before when I disagreed with her. She's like, well, I got a report.
No, that's a study. That's different. I'm saying when sellers reach out and they're like, I have this awesome diagnostic of your website, blah, blah. I'll send it over if you just say yes. That's different than a scientific study done by Brigham Young University.
Whatever. I got a report. Shit.
You punk.
All right. We are on to the next segment of this podcast, which is...
Oh, listen, just one more thing.
This is the last segment of our podcast where Becc and Keenan share what's on their minds and give us their closing thoughts. So, Keenan, what is your just one more thing?
Keenan.
I got another echo, but I'll try to play through it. My one more thing today is don't get overwrapped in the data. I love data, but you gotta apply your own logic in your own interpretation. So I'm a huge fan, Patriots fan, and they're now 1-2, and the data is telling us that Mac Jones is a phenomenal quarterback. That's what the data is telling us. So I'm not saying you got to get the guy out, but he's doing great in all of these categories. But what's not happening is the team is not scoring. Mm-hmm. The team our offense is horrendous. We won by scoring 15 points. Our defense is keeping us in games. The offense cannot score. Mac consistently misses the plays at the end of the game that matter, that are not necessarily caught in the overall score. So if you have 80% completion rate for 600 yards, but at the end of the game, you have a 10% completion rate, data, you're going to think that he's crushing it all the time. So yes, data matters, everybody, but don't operate strictly from the data.
All right, Becc, what is your just one more thing for this week?
So I got to stay in tow with the theme. So there were 3 different points where I almost didn't go tonight. The first was when I went to the store originally. I'll scoot over into the store. Originally, it was just to buy a shirt. And this woman, for some reason, she knows my love for him, and she invited me. And I'm like, I can't go because I was like, candidly, I was scared. I'm like, what if they don't like me? What if I don't wear something that's pretty enough? It's just scary. It's the unknown. It's a group of people I don't know, When I was leaving, she looked at me and she said, you have to come tonight. And I'm like, okay. So I decided to come tonight, call Keenan. I'm like, if Keenan says no, like we can't shove it or da-da-da, then okay, I'm going to reevaluate not going. Then he says yes. Of course, he's great about it. He says yes. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go. When I get there, She's like, there was a dress that I wanted to try on. She's like, you should try it on. Then she's like, you should wear it out on the floor. And I said, well, is it this price or this price? Because it's different on the US and they're what, significantly different. And it would prevent me from purchasing it. She said, I'll give it for you the lower amount if you go and talk to Alex Boyd, who is the CEO of Oscar de la Renta. This is his right-hand man. And she's like, and if I can take photographs of you doing it. And she stood there and she had a camera. And because of all of that, I got to meet his wife. I had literally the most incredible night of my life. He was like, and his wife apparently asked who I was afterwards. What I say all of that to mean is not a humble brag. It's a dead on brag. I mean, on a side note.
Pretty much.
What I say all of that to mean is I almost didn't do any of that because I was scared. So when people push you and you know deep in your gut that you're just not doing something because of that, just lean in and say like, I'll figure it out. I'm going to get over it. Keep going, because you might miss out on some incredible experiences. You might be comfortable at home.
Not might, will.
Yeah, for sure. Statistically, will. My life is forever different because of that experience in 2 hours. And it was because some woman, thank God, who I'm like, we're like best friends now. We're like texting back and forth, pushed me to do it. So point being, when you have those butterflies in your stomach, just lean in and go do it, because you never know what might happen. That is my one last thing.
Well, that's our podcast.
Well, thank you, everybody. That was beautiful, Becc. I agree with you. So thank you, everybody, for listening. This is Sales Top to Bottom. Be sure to catch us on YouTube. I always forget to say that. All the episodes are on YouTube. You can also find us on Google, and you can find us on
Apple and Spotify.
Apple iPod. Yep. You can find us where all your iPod needs are.
Keenan's YouTube and my YouTube, both.
Yeah, for small clips, you can find us all. So be sure to watch them after the fact. And so until next time, I am Keenan, your host.
And I am Becc. I'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching the Sales Top to Bottom podcast with Keenan and Becc. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more sales content. And if you'd like to see us live, find us on Keenan's LinkedIn Live every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. This is Sales Top to Bottom, signing off.